Hello, everybody, and welcome to Family Talks. As you may recall, we did this series a couple of years ago and have decided to revive that. And during the month of February, during our Family Talks interviews, we are going to be learning about some various mission opportunities. And to start off, I want to introduce you to our newly endorsed and International Ministries missionary. And in fact, she's actually our 42nd International Ministries missionary out of West Virginia. This is Sarah McCloy. Sarah, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Is it kind of sinking in yet?
A little bit, yeah. Now that the announcement's gone out.
Yeah. So just to kind of start us off, there's probably a lot of people who haven't heard yet. Share with us about what you are going to be doing.
So I am going to be in Japan, in Sendai, Japan, in the north, and I'm going to be doing a couple of different things. So the first is that I'm going to be working part-time as an instructor at Shokkei Gakuin University, which is actually a Baptist affiliated university there. And I'm going to be teaching English classes and working with the chaplaincy department. So engaged in the student life on campus and doing some evangelism work. And then I'm also going to be working as an assistant pastor at Shokkei Baptist Church, the affiliated church nearby, and so assisting with their ministries there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And some people watching this right now may have never met you. So just even kind of share, how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I would say my missionary journey actually began long ago. And I first felt called to missions actually back when I was a high school student. And I went on a mission trip for the first time, a short-term mission trip to Bolivia. And that experience really opened my eyes to the global church, which I hadn't really experienced before. And sort of that was the first time I felt God hooking at my heartstrings that, maybe I'm being called to be a missionary. And so then I sort of wrestled with that idea all through college, and then sort of felt while I was spending some time in Rwanda as a student and also interning at a children's home, I really felt that God was saying, yes, I'm calling you to be a missionary. And so then I began my preparation journey and it's led me here. So it's actually 13-year journey
Wow.
from first feeling called to this moment right here.
So when did you start the application process with International Ministries?
I started the application process a little over a year ago.
Okay. And why then?
I had just finished going through seminary and also going through a chaplaincy residency. So I've been working at a hospital and I'd finished my year of residency, and I really felt that God was saying, this is the moment, start the application process.
Okay. And you mentioned, your mission trip in Bolivia, just kind of sensing God's call, into the mission field. Can you kind of describe what that experience was like?
Yeah, it was something so totally different for me because here I was a freshman in high school, having grown up in West Virginia in one town my whole life. And then here I am in Bolivia and getting to interact with all of these wonderful ministries and see these different ways of doing church and interact with people who were living in situations, some of them of extreme poverty. And so it was just a really unique and different way of life that I had never been exposed to before. And I felt that I needed to respond in some way, and I wasn't quite sure what way it was that God was telling me to respond. And of course, now I have a better idea in hindsight. But yeah.
And from talking with you and just kind of knowing a little bit more of your story, Bolivia was not the only country that you've been to before. Can you share about some of the other places that you've been and just ways you've served?
Yeah. So I love to travel. I've been to about, I think, 25, 26 countries in total. Bolivia is one that's really near and dear to my heart. Another place is, I already mentioned Rwanda. So I lived there for 4 months as a student in college. And so I was learning about the culture and about international development, and then also having a chance to intern there with a children's home, which was quite the experience. So I show up on the first day, and I think I'm going to be interning at this school and helping the teachers. And they go, well, we don't really need you to do that. Actually, we're going to have you run our dental clinic, and also we're going to have you be our pastor on Sundays and preach. Because I was also doing a theology major, so they were like, we're going to have you preach. Which was totally unexpected for me. So talk about instantly being thrown outside of your comfort zone. But yeah, so that was one experience there. And then I have actually been to Japan on a short-term mission trip before. The first time I went to Japan was back in 2018. And that was a wonderful experience. So I was able to work with the Wongs, who are I am missionaries in Japan right now. And I was able to work with them in English classes and working with students and building relationships. And it was such a wonderful and lovely experience.
So what was it about Japan? Because I know that you kind of being courted from a couple different organizations trying to pull you in possible, other locations. What was it about Japan that kind of your heart went toward?
Yeah, well, I think part of it was the previous experiences that I had had there, and the connections that I had made. And so I already had that bit of love there in my heart for Japan. And then I think also I really went into the process during the beginning of the application process very wide open. So having sort of my own preferences and ideas, but saying, God, I'm really going to come into this open to anything, and really wait for a yes from God. So to not really make my own decision, but to have it be a decision that I discern with God. And so I just kept waiting for that yes. And the yes was really Japan. I think all of the other places are wonderful and wonderful ministries. But God just kept saying, no, that's not it. And then Japan was a yes. And I think it's just, it's such a wonderful opportunity to use different parts of my life and my experiences. So I'm teaching right now and pastoring right now. So it's interesting how those two things came together in this role in Japan. And then also to be close to some people who I already know and have relationships with and continue to connect in to those past experiences is wonderful too.
So you started the application, you completed the application, you got
Mhm.
accepted, lots of interviews, lots of background checks, all that other fun stuff. You were endorsed. Now what?
Well, now the fundraising begins. So meeting with different churches and individuals, people who might be interested in supporting the ministry in Japan and the work there. And so that process begins so that hopefully in the not too distant future, I can move to Japan.
And so what are some of those support goals that you have?
Well, the goal is around $8,000 a month. And then there are also some startup costs that I'm going to need to raise as well.
Okay, and what does the 8,000 a month cover? Is it more than just salary? Ministry costs. What?
Yeah, it covers ministry costs. It covers some of the organizational support costs. So it's not just me going alone. There's a lot of support that's happening. So it's helping to cover some of that support network from the home office. And ministry, I said ministry costs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've heard the most about international ministries is just the support that you get from the home office, especially when you're on the field. I know a lot of our global servants elsewhere have shared almost horror stories of other organizations just kind of abandoning their missionaries or just kind of not supporting them to the degree that international ministries really does with spiritual care, obviously physical care. A lot of our missionaries have struggled in a variety of ways, and international ministries has always been there. And so again, your support is going to support all of that for Sarah, as well as some of the other things that she talked about. So you mentioned you're kind of in this spot now where you're beginning to talk to individuals, beginning to talk to churches. If someone's listening to this and they want to talk to you, what do they do?
Yeah, so there are a couple different things that they can do. One is to reach out at my international ministries email, which is smccoy at internationalministries.org. So you can reach out directly, or you can go to the website, the International Ministries website, and find my profile, and I have a link to contact me there. And then also, people can contact me through the West Virginia Baptist Convention, so they can reach out to you, and you'll get that back to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are really excited to come alongside Sarah. And I've somewhat jokingly, somewhat serious with her. He said, one of my goals is to get her all of her funding done by June, so we can just get her to Japan faster. But obviously, churches and individuals need to come alongside her. And so, what does your spring schedule look like? Are you open? If a church wants you to come on a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, maybe come to a business meeting, or even to like an ABW group, what's your schedule look like?
Yeah, so I am open really to come at most times. So Sunday morning, Sunday evenings, Wednesday nights, all of that. Um, yeah, I'm available.
Yeah, and we are, like I said, we are really excited for Sarah. And again, just thinking back in our rich history since 1865, 42 full-time missionaries have gone out from our West Virginia Baptist Convention family. Sarah's the 42nd. So we celebrate that, but also recognize again we are a family of churches, and so it's not just Sarah going, but obviously we are going with her. We are sending her, and so now comes the point of support raising, and helping fund her journey to Japan, as well as, of course, praying for her. And so, what are some specific ways that we can be praying for you over the coming months?
Well, there are a number of different ways. So right now I'm in a time of big transition, right? Transitioning into fundraising and transitioning out of some of the things I'm doing now, like pastoring a church and some of my teaching that I'm doing. So transitions and change are always difficult. So I would definitely appreciate prayers for that, and prayers for the ministry and for Japan, and that I would get there quickly too.
Yeah, and so when you get there, is there language training? What comes next?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I am going to spend the first bit of time once I actually get to Japan in language training. So working on learning Japanese, and I'll probably do that for about a year, at least. Japanese is not an easy language to learn. So I'm definitely going to buckle down and be working hard at that.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, we, like I've said it multiple times, but we're just extremely excited for you. We're proud of you, and it's been fun to kind of come alongside you in this journey over the last year or so. But I'm excited that the news is finally out, and like I said, schedule's open, and so now's the time to begin contacting Sarah, or again contact myself. My email is todd@wvbc.org, and I'll put you in touch with Sarah and make sure that we get her to your church. So again, thanks, Sarah, for joining us, and everyone
Mhm.
watching, thanks for joining us on Family Talks, and we'll see you next week.